But as the draft is starting to get ready for both teams, we're gonna have to see what they're both gonna start cooking up in this game to pick up the dub here in this best of three. As we just kind of wait for the pro draft to start, as they kind of fix a couple little finicky issues here. But just looking at stats so far, they all have pretty decent stats in solo queue. They all have positive win rates. They have a couple of champs here and there that they're definitely very, very good with. But we're gonna have to see how these champs go because patch 11.4 did come out recently, and the nerfs are really big, especially on those big hard hitting carries such as Kaisa and Samira here, and Renekton.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what these teams try to do on this new patch. And just taking a look at the rosters really quick, it's going to be SFU that takes blue side first this game. And if there is a game three, they will be getting that precious blue side once again. Their roster will consist of Sukasa in the top lane, Jandro in the jungle, Jinsoul mid, Lone Elements in the AD carry position with his support Sigfigs. Whereas on the other side, we got PvE with top lane Vapist, jungle Nerf Adderall, mid Ken Often, bot lane of Esmond and Fang JJ.
Yeah, man, just they are definitely pretty stacked up here. Each team is about low diamond, high plat average, and both sides will kind of alternate between blue side for every game if it does happen to go to 3 whole games. But right now we're only in week 2. There's only one game beneath each of their belts so far for every team across the league, and so far it is extra spicy here today. But for now, there is a couple of like little finicky things going on here. But let's just talk about the stats here so far, looking at the lane by lane matchup here. Sukasa in the top lane here does play a lot of like kind of split pusher bruisers, got that Camille, got that Cho'Gath, got that Fiora under their belt there. Camille definitely one of the champions that did get hit a little bit hard with the patch. Her tactical sweep, her W did get nerfed with a little bit of cooldown, about 2 seconds per level. So it should not affect too much. It only affect kind of like the sustaining lane and a little bit of trading potential, but it is not that big as your W isn't very prevalent. And then Vapist, he also plays a bit of Camille, Gnar, and Wukong. So definitely also having that strong split push potential. So both these teams definitely looking to kind of put a couple resources in that top lane to see who they can get farther ahead and to kind of split push this game away here. And as we start continue talking about the rest of the team here, the pro draft did just start. So first band coming out for SFU going to be Pantheon. Pantheon's still relatively prevalent, this point click stun, very, very easy to execute there per ganks or just kind of getting that global pressure. Thresh also being taken off the table, one of those kind of S tier picks that's been there for a while just because pretty much Thresh can do anything. You want to peel, you want to engage, you want to get your teammates out of a bit of a pickle there. Thresh is definitely the way to go. SFU is targeting a lot of kind of like these jungler bands here. Jandro does play a little bit of Pantheon here and there, not too much, but Udyr is definitely one of those top tier picks. Even though very, very simplistic, it is still very, very strong just for the amount of like pressure he can do in a team fight.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the Udyr being taken away on the blue side. Traditionally we see Udyr being taken away on red, just given the fact that it's very easy first pick if the blue side desires it at all. But I don't know, seeing it on the blue side ban is definitely interesting. One thing that could be a factor in that, however, Banana, is the fact that this is the patch 11.4, which means that we're going to see a lot of changes to the jungle XP, and it means that farming champions like this Udyr, like the Lilia, will be affected negatively in some way. Unfortunately, it does look like these teams don't really care about the certain changes to jungle. Those champions are still going to be taken off the table, but it's going to be SFU locking up a really strong bot laner to start things off with the B1 Senna.
Yep, Senna is super, super strong, especially with the new build that's kind of going around with the Kraken Slayer and the Rage Blade build, because you apply so much on hit, so you'll basically get a stack and you'll apply your Kraken Slayer very, very fast. Since Senna also does get a lot of crit chance from her passive, and her passive did get buffed about 2 or 3 patches ago. So Senna is definitely very, very strong with the Rage Blade Kraken Slayer build. Kaisa being picked up, she did get slightly nerfed it wasn't too bad. Her Q did get nerfed a good chunk. It's a little bit of base damage and a little bit of single target damage on her Q there. So Kaisa will be grabbed for the side of PvE with Sejuani. Sejuani still one of those prevalent picks, being a very good tank. Lots of engage, lots of CC with the ult and the Q there. And it looks like SFU will looking to grab this Tom Kench here. Tom Kench is played very, very heavily in pro play for fasting Senna. Tom Kench is very, very safe, especially when you have an immobile ADC such as Senna. So Tom Kench, grabs the farm. Senna will farm up her souls and poke around a little bit. So we're gonna have to see what PV draft for the support. Definitely want more of a. You don't want like a melee support generally when you're playing against a Senna, since Senna can just poke a lot, get a gold from her support item, and she also gets a lot of souls when she hits you twice. And it looks like Crank's gonna be grabbed here. It's super, super interesting. And Kindred in the jungle for SFU. This pick band's already looking extra, extra spicy here, Grapes.
Yeah, so we're already seeing a bit of a change in the jungle meta here. We see the Sejuani being picked up here for PvE. We definitely wouldn't see a champion like this in the previous meta, but now that these certain heavy farming champions are off the table, seeing somebody like Sejuani who can hit the level 3 really fast, go for a lot more early ganks, and just basically try to go for more of the early game presence in the lanes rather than trying to farm up for late as a champion that doesn't really scale as well with the levels. Definitely going to be interesting to see the kind of shift in the meta here as we head into the next patch. The Kindred is also a very interesting pickup here for SFU, and it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of work this out. The question is for PvE, what kind of top laner do they go for towards Vapus? Sejuani really likes to benefit off of the melees to kind of synergize well with the E. I would expect to see something like Vapus' Wukong potentially being taken off the table here for SFU.
Yeah, man, you see already the Malphite getting taken off the table. So that would indicate that Vapist might look to grab the Wukong. Malphite being one of the few strong counters into a Wukong, since Wukong has so much. Like, you have a lot of mixed damage with your Nimbus Strike, and then you have a lot of armor reduction with your Q. So it's very, very hard to trade against a Wukong. But with a Malphite, the Granite Shield really helps, and the Seismic Shard helps to run away, trade back, and then you just kind of walk out here. So both sides are kind of pinching a little bit of that top lane pool here, and Ari also being taken off the table for Jinsoul. We're gonna have to see what SFU ban here, and it looks like they're gonna ban the Wukong, knowing very well that Malphite is one of the few counters. So we're curious to see who PvE will put the blind pick towards, and they'll leave it for the mid lane here with the looks like the Gnar pickup here. Vapus does play a decent amount of Gnar, has a good win rate. Gnar being very prevalent, you can play weak side very well with your range form, and then you can all in very well with your Mega Gnar. And you have a lot of team fight presence there, and a lot of setup when you hit Mega Gnar with Sejuani, and you land all those various stuns back and forth. SFU, we're gonna see what they pick here for Tsukasa to go into the top lane here. Tsukasa definitely playing a lot of those kind of split pusher, bruiser, duelists. So we're gonna see what he picks here. Orianna gonna get picked up for Jinsoul. Lots of like team fight versatility there with the Ori. But I want to see like some hard engage. There's no hard engage for SFU, so I kind of expect to see one of those diving type champions, especially since Camille did get taken off the table. So we're gonna have to see what SFU pick here to counter the Gnar and to go in, and Volibear will be taken off the table for SFU.
Yeah, Volibear definitely one of those champions that can punish a mini Gnar in exhausted form if he manages to get on top of him. It's an interesting draft that PvE kind of set up, though. They're just assuming that their mid laner is going to be some sort of mage providing some AP damage. They basically drafted Sejuani with 3 ranged laners, and it's really difficult to try and synergize with that sort of jungle pickup here. Again, I could be proven wrong and see PvE try to draft something weird in the middle lane, like the Kassadin. Would be pretty interesting, especially considering you could auto W pretty easily if Sejuani decides to come over down to the middle lane. So I do like this bit of a draft change here for PvE. The Kassadin also does well into the Orianna, and overall, I think it fits their team comp rather well.
Yep, Kassadin or cannot often. I'll say it like that. Can often, he does play a little bit of Kassadin. Kassadin is one of those really strong scaling picks. If you hit around level 11 plus, or if you manage to snowball a little bit early with your lead. But Casson doesn't snowball very well unless he gets either a couple mana items under his belt or he gets a couple levels in, so he can kind of hop around back and forth using that rift walk, trying to make a couple things happen around the map. So it is a little bit hard to get any mid lane prio, especially against the Orianna. Casson should go reasonably even if he can trade correctly with his Q, but it is definitely not going to be a fun time. It's going to be a hard time trying to get this prio around the mid lane. So I definitely expect to see SFU jump on that to try to get priority on the early Drakes, stack up Drakes a little bit. That could be their win con most likely, while the rest of PV kind of farm up, get the rest of play around the top side a little bit more, and see if they can get those Rift Heralds in the top lane and try to snowball this Gnar a little bit so he can 1v1 this Volibear in the late game.
Yeah, certainly so. And there's a lot of really interesting pieces coming together for both of these team comps. I really like the scaling that SFU have brought to the table here. You have the Senna with the infinite stacking souls, Kindred with the hypothetical ever stacking marks, and then you have an Orianna who really begins to really thrive in the late game. Going to be providing a lot of support alongside the Tom Kench to protect the double marksman that SFU has set up. Whereas on the other side, PvE also kind of going for that scaling. You have this Kassadin who really wants to get to level 16 as fast as possible. You have Kai'Sa that starts to scale well once you get to 2 or 3 items. And in addition to that, you got Gnar, Blitzcrank, Gnar, and Sejuani for a lot of huge team fight potential once you get into later stages with the heavy crowd control and their ultimates and all that jazz. So it's going to be really fun to see how these team comps kind of play out. And obviously, I think this matchup is going to be rather close, obviously between two pretty close teams in the standings, both sitting at 1-0. And we'll really start to get a better picture of how the dominant league teams start to set up in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Lone Elements and Six Figs did play the Fasting Senna Tom Kench lane yesterday in Clash. They were pretty successful on it yesterday, being that you have souls. It makes up for your lack of farming, so you get a lot of range and utility with the soul since it gives you range, 80, and crit chance. So that basically kind of makes up for any item deficiency that you'll have, unless you do get hooked, unfortunately. Crank is a very, very good pick into the Tom Kench just because if you ever get that timing right, you're basically getting a 2-for-1 deal there
Yeah.
on one hook. So you're definitely going to like those a lot. And the Crank ult can break the Tom Kench shield. So that is very, very useful. But both sides have a lot of scaling. Top side's very, very strong. Junglers can make early ganks happen very well. Mid lane for the side of PvE is a little bit lacking for the early game there. So I expect Jinsoul to make use of that lead and try to make a couple plays around the Scuttle Crabs so they can get those early objective priorities. Bot lane is very, very scaling, but it is in favor of PvE since the Crank is a counter pick into the Tom Kench here. But we're going to have to see where both these junglers put their resources, being that jungler resources have gone down XP wise and a little bit of gold wise. So we're going to see where they go to try to get their lanes ahead and get their team to win here.
Yeah, and I love the point that you brought up there, Banana. Just the Blitzcrank into the team comp here of SFU. You think of all the different shields that are on this team. You got Senna, you got the Orianna with the Command Protect, you got Tom Kench's Thick Skin. Heck, even Susaka's Volibear could happen to bring something like the Gargoyle Stoneplate into the item shop in a little bit. And seeing a champion like Blitzcrank here definitely matches up pretty well. And I mean, it was picked like around the R3 point here in the draft. So I guess they did already see the Senna Tom Kench. That just already means a lot of shields. The Orianna and even the Volibear still add a lot to that. And I would be expecting that Blitzcrank ultimate to really put a lot of importance into that, as well as even Kai'Sa. Sometimes something that I've been kind of advocating for here on Kai'Sa builds is to, instead of building that serrated dirk into a collector at times, maybe even go for a Serpent's Fang.
Yeah, man, it's just there's so much versatility with the Kai'Sa there. Most of the nerfs were towards single target damage on the Q, being that it's not a fun time when you have a 2-item Kai'Sa just completely one-shot you when she does get a solo Q onto you. And just looking at both these teams, they have a lot of scaling in different places. and their early game is allocated in different areas of the map. So it's going to be a very, very, very fun time seeing where both these teams go. And I just want to hear what you think so far. Who's going to take the cake in this game, this first game of the best of three?
Man, it's so hard to tell. I mean, the drafts both look pretty solid. I think, though, that the Blitzcrank is going to be a crucial factor. If Fang JJ can really get on the right foot to start this series off, I could be expecting to see PvE take home the victory in game one. But everything is on the line here. We got Risen Dominic coming up in just a bit. We'll be back after a short break. Starting this game off, bit of an interesting start to this game. Obviously, a four stack in the bottom side.
Yep, a spicy invade. If you're playing Crank and you don't invade, it is it is blasphemy. Jandro is in the top side here, getting a cheeky ward on the red buff. So it looks like there is going to be a little bit of a flank a Rooney here on Canofton. We're gonna have to see if Canofton does flash here.
And the PTA is already procced. It looks like he's going to get out pretty much scot-free. The only thing is he might miss a little bit of the XP at the start of the lane, making sure that Jinsel gets the early push in the lane, which is something that, he was probably going to have to do anyway. So don't think that's too much of a concern here for the Kassadin here. But looking like other than that, not all too much was really done there. That was a nice ward placed there by Jandro in the top side. Going to be spotting out Nerf Adderall's red buff, and they're going to see that they're starting that buff as well.
It's a shame that PV didn't push a little bit farther with their numbers advantage to get a vision around. They will get a general idea of where the Kindred is starting. Both junglers starting on opposite sides of the map. So they will not meet each other for the Scuttle Crab here. So it looks like all the lanes will just kind of be normal here. Volley Bear in the top with the grass is super interesting though. Um, Generally, if you take grass, you want to look for like a couple trades here and there, but in a ranged melee matchup, you're definitely not one to kind of walk up for that. Looks like bot lane here, just doing the usual. Lots of hope going around with this Senna here. Gonna have to keep a soul tracker up as she has about 4 souls here. Ooh, thank goodness. Hook.
Yeah, level 2 hit first from PvE. That's Flash Auto coming in. Asmon's gonna pick up first blood here to start the series off right for themselves and their team. And that's what happens when you hit level 2 first on PvE. Just end up pushing forward. Blitzcrank Frank gets the hook. You can't eat yourself if you're Tom Kench, and that's just first blood.
Yeah, man, it's just that's generally what you want to do in aggro lane like that, especially with the Kaisa crank. You just kind of want to push really hard for that level 2 first, because in a lane like this, whoever gets level 2 first is definitely going to be at an advantage here. A little bit of trading at the top between Mega Gnar and the Volley Bear, but it won't really amount to much else here. Kindred is on the top side, so she might look for a little bit of a gankaroonie as Vapis is pushing towards the blue top tier 1 here. Of course, Jinsoul is pushing into Kassadin, so that is completely unsurprising here. So Jandro and Nerf Adderall will both just trade top and bot Scuttle Crabs here, while they'll just kind of have their lanes push forward, get a little bit of a priority. But it looks like Fang JJ, nah, he's not going to do anything too weird. He's just going to leash that a little bit. Jandro's going in for a little bit of a invade here, not going to get too much in return, but he could look to walk behind Vapis here. He is at a really, really good angle, but he's just going to sit around a little bit
Yeah, the
and see
waves.
if he can get a little something.
Yeah, Wave's not in a great spot for Vapis here, and that means that that the blue team and the rest can go in. Jandra is gonna land the E mark onto Vapis. A lot of rage being charged up, though. The Kindred's gonna have to be careful. Interesting thing to note, though, as well. Jandro did win the Kindred lottery. The Scuttle Crab did spawn on the right side, meaning that he gets an early mark to start this game off.
Yep, definitely stacking those marks is going to be really useful here. Nerf Adderall is going bot side here. SFU doesn't have any wards outside of that control ward in the bush, but they are pushing. They are just going to walk back as the wave starts pushing towards them. They now know that the Kindred, or the Sejuani is bot side here, so they could look for an early Drake with the priority, but she is just going to back out and not look for much else with this bot wave pushing in here. But just want to talk about kind of like these lane matchups here and how it's all going. Mid lane, about a 10 CS deficit in favor of Jinsoul. Top lane, surprisingly, Tsukasa has a 10 CS lead, even though it's a range melee matchup, because that early game does definitely help, because the Flashless Gnar is going to have to watch out for the Volley Bear going all in there with the Flash Q. And it looks like Crank is going to start roaming around, you know, doing cranky things. See if we can get a little bit of a hook there, here, or there. Kindred is just going to farm up right now. Only about 1 stack here. Senna is on about 21 stacks, so you will get the first little upgrade into your range there. And PvE will start up and take this first Cloud Drake here with the priority they got in the bot lane.
Yep, nice job for the side of PvE to get the first blood, first Drake. Everything is really going in their favor, though. Gold is rather even. It's still going to be the rest of FSU and the rest of them still staying ahead, though. We got a bit of a gank in the bot side, though. Nerf Adderall is going to go in onto Tom Kench. Again, can't consume yourself, but that's double root coming in from Lone Elements. They're going to pick up the first kill onto Sig Figs, and now the question is, can they get away? Lone Elements has a lot of range with the Qs. Piercing Light will not do enough to finish off Esmond. Another clean kill going over to PvE.
Yep, very nice job there. Can't do too much trying to gank Senna Tom Kench there. Tom Kench being very, very slow. You're not really gonna you're gonna get him very, very easily there. So you're just gonna kind of farm up those kills there. Get this Kaisa as much of a lead as possible here. In top lane, there was a little bit of a skirmish there. Unfortunately, Vapis Meganar did expire before he could go in with the Gnar there. But mid lane here, Canofton is level 6, so he can trade a little bit more damage onto this Orianna here. So right now, gold lead is about 400, 500-ish. It's not anything too crazy here. It isn't a Drake advantage to PvE, which was discussed a little bit early there. They're gonna try to get a couple of those early Drakes with the bot prow that they have. And it looks like Tom Kench will be spotted out on those wards there, gonna try to go mid, but you're not really gonna do too much against the Cassin that is level 6.
Yeah, Caston once again can often hitting that first mini power spike, giving him a little bit more viability here in the laning phase. Interesting to note though, it does not start off with Tear the Goddess. Question is, will he try to build it a little bit earlier or not? And you see a bit of a trade in the top side. This is what Susaka can do onto the mini Just jump on him, deal a good chunk of damage. Vapors though, getting close to that Mega, gonna have to make sure that Tsukasa ends up respecting him. Speaking of respect, looks like Fang JJ might be lacking a bit of that. They're going to land the root onto him, and now there's 3 members of SFU going after him. That's the Consume already landing onto the Blitzcrank. Fang JJ is most certainly caught out. 4 members of SFU are after him. Meanwhile, on the top side, though, that's going to be Tsukasa being taken out. It does have this ultimate already procced on him, but it doesn't matter. 2v1 means a kill in the top side as well as 1-for-1.
Yep, bot side a little bit ambitious there with the teleport, but teleport was not wasted. Jinsol did get a kill for her troubles there. Top side, very nice job for Nerf Adderall punishing the knowing that the jungler is bot side, so you go top side on the opposite end of the map, trying to get what you can get. Nerf Adderall is getting a little bit low here, taking the Rift Herald. So he should be able to get this without any troubles too much. But very nice job there for both junglers, play on opposite ends of the map, not matching each other, knowing that they have different power levels on each side of the map. So right now, gold lead is still pretty marginal. It's not anything too crazy here. Nothing snowballing out of control quite yet. But Jinsol does have a kill mid here, opting for the Lucidity boost. Interestingly enough, Tier is get taken for both mid laners to kind of sustain that mana. Next Drake, second Drake of the game will be up in about 115. It is going to be Ocean Solioli here. So nothing too crazy. Top side, Tsukasa is getting a really, really good lead for himself. Vapus does have the teleport advantage here and the range advantage. So he should, if he charges up his Mega around now, he should be in a pretty good spot to look for a TP play bot side to contest this second Drake here.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what their teams do around this objective. Again, it's only the second Dragon in the game, not really one to be super hotly contested, but we are in a situation where Dragons stacking can be important, especially for PvE. It would be nice to try and get some of that extra regen, get that soul counter to 2 and 0 already. But it doesn't look like too much is happening just yet. It looks like Vapus is about to ding the Mega, but it does seem like they are trying to stall it out, really making sure he doesn't hit onto that 100, reach that stack to kind of send him over the edge here just yet. But now he will, which means that any sort of TP play will be pretty hard to accomplish at this point.
Yep, the Meganar cooldown it's only like about 20-ish seconds. So he should be able to kind of charge it up a little bit. It will be a little slow, but it looks like, interestingly enough, Drake will just be taken here for the side of SFU. Back timers were a little bit off there for PvE, but it's not too much to scoff at. And now it looks like we will know what this soul is. It'll be an Infernal Soul, an Infernal Rift. Definitely very, very nice for all these champions that just kind of want to run right at you. And it looks like Nerf Adderall is going to look boggy. He is level 6. And it looks like they're just gonna jump straight onto this fish here.
Can Feng JJ land that hook? And he does, onto Sig Figs, and that just means another catch onto the Tom Kench. The Donnie Chatter will buy some time, but the Glacial Prison has already been used. Esmond will finish him off with the final auto attack. The Acathian Rain will drain onto Lone Elements as well, but I don't think that the rest of the team really wants to try and engage onto the SFU bot laner. But another kill going over to PvE. Very nice job by them. They're going to potentially use that Rift Herald to get some plays for themselves. Meanwhile, Shockwave being used on to Canofton, and another fight happening on the top side as well. Doesn't look like any of this is going to mean all too much, though. Sakasa is pretty low. Vape does still have the Meganar available, but now here comes Jandro. Has the damage onto the mini, has the Lambent Sprite as well, so that means he can go as aggressive as he wants, or no! Looks like they're going to fail the dive, and Tsukasa going to get the final W, but at the cost of his life, it's a 2-for-1 up in the top side as the failed dive attempt happens there for SFU.
Oh, once I hear Fang JJ is gonna flash a little bit late there. That was his actual flash, not the Hex flash. But the Herald will get 2 charges. They do get... Oh, snap, it did not get the charge.
And that means that another fight's gonna happen. Another hook lands onto Sig Figs, and he has just been eating hook after hook after a hook. Not the same kind of eating that Tom Kench is like to do. Now Lone Elements might have gone a little bit too far. Has Tom Kench to save him? That's the kind of consumption that Sig Figs is trying to go after here. So it doesn't look like they actually ended up doing too much damage onto the bot lane inner turret. Nice defense coming out from SFU.
Yeah, that was a very, very nice job for the side of PvE. They get the first tower bot side here. They nearly get a kill, and they didn't trade any kills back outside of the top side. Vape is doing such a good job there. Jandro really underestimated the Gnar damage there. Had the Lance Respite, but didn't use it. Tsukasa going in, trying to get a trade kill for his best buddy, his dear friend there, but ends up dying and giving the Gnar a 2-kill lead in this top lane here. And now that would even out the gold a little bit. 900 gold plus up for this Gnar in the top side here. So now he is going to be a bit of a menace. Optimizing. He is starting to build towards that strike breaker there. It's very good just because you want to reposition a little bit just so you can get the proper Gnars there. And Esmond is also 3-0 right now. So very nice job in the bot side, punishing this Tom Kench and just taking control of this whole entire bot side.
Yeah, and Menendez, that's what he kind of stated here at the start of the draft. You saw the Tom Kench come through, and your first response was, yeah, we have a Blitzcrank. We're going to try and hook in the Tom and make sure that he has a very miserable experience there in the bottom lane. And it's really worked out for PvE so far. You got 3 kills on your Kaisa, who already has a completed Kraken Slayer, and she just really accelerated at this point. Going to be providing a lot of heavy damage here in the upcoming fight.
Yeah, looks like Nerf Adderall is super, super ballsy here. Gonna get the blue buff here and just gonna dash on out there. Just to gonna get what he can get. So that's just an example of how much this lead is ballooning a little bit here. 3K, about 2.5K gold lead for the side of PvE here. Next Drake up will come up. Next Drake will be up in about a minute here. So Vapus is just trying to push down this top lane tower, trying to get as much as he can here. Jandro will be spotted doing this Rift Herald. He'll know he'll be spotted, but he is just going to keep on doing it. But
someone else spotted out, though, is Jin Soul, already burning the flash. Donnie Shadow will shield up the Orianna for just a little bit. Rift Walk forward there from Canofton, though. The final Q will not do enough, but the last Rift Walk will do it, but at the cost of his own life as well. Another 1-for-1 under the tower goes over as both the mid laners fall.
Yep, towers are definitely the MVP of this game here. SFU will take the Rift Herald in the top lane, though. Second Rift Herald not as prevalent really in the when you use it later, but it is still pretty good when you're trying to knock down especially this mid tower, because it just opens up the map so well here. Drake will be up now, and PvE will immediately get the fire right onto it with the Scuttle Crab spawning just right when they're about to take the Drake. And they're also going to call for a TP down there from Canofton. Just get as many people down here as possible. And it looks like SFU are looking to give this as Jandro just passed into his blue side jungle here.
Yeah, Jandro does spot out that little spicy markup there on the top side, but it is going to be PvE taking their second dragon of the game. But look at the soul counter here for um, Jandro. Does have 4 stacks of on the Kindred. Already getting that range buff is pretty nice, but looks like they did spot out the dragon take a little bit too late. It's going to be PvE securing their second dragon of the game, the first Infernal.
Jandro was looking to drop the Herald mid there, but a little bit late there on the call here. So he will just opt to grab the mark in the top side instead. But he is going to get collapsed upon, so he's just going to kind of give that away there. Gold lead is about... Now it's been lower to about 2K here, 7-3 in kills. Top side here, there is a little bit of a skirmish. Going to pop the strike breaker to go forward. Not going to get too much else. But like right now, soul counter on Senna, 67, and there's about 4 marks for the Kindred. So scaling is definitely a little bit slower than you'd like, but it is going in the right track. Right now, both top tier ones are still up, so both sides definitely kind of want to break that down, as that is probably the only viable option left to take at the moment, since top side is probably the focal point right now for SFU. But just looking at like the CS discrepancies across the map overall, top lane even, jungle it's only about 10 CS for Jandro. Jinsel is about I say 20 30. Yeah, I'll say 30. About 30 CS up for Jinsel, which is to be expected. But Knopton is scaling really, really heavily right now. Level 12, and he is about, let's see, he's about a quarter of the way there to level 13. So he is on track to be an absolute menace in this late game here, as he does get his Leandries and start stacking that tier.
Yeah, the tier was actually purchased there for Knopton. Definitely going to be valuable, as well as Jinsol going for very similar builds, it seems like, at the early stages of this game. As we head into the 18-minute mark, though, it is PvE with that 2,000 gold lead. Has kind of maintained at that state for the last few minutes, so definitely going to be a pretty important thing to look at as we kind of head into later stages, especially considering all the scaling that is available so far in PvE. We got Knopton's Cassidy, we got Esmond's Kaisa as well. Definitely something to look out for.
Yeah, right now it looks like both sides will kind of flood this bot side here. Fang JJ gonna look for a little cheeky hook there. Right now the game is just kind of slowing down. Not any legitimate team fights yet. Nothing too crazy to fight around for objectives. But just looking at the vision right now, it is pretty dark. A lot of the vision for SFU is very superficial. So like they're not really getting any kind of information. PvE also very superficial vision. Rift Herald will be spawned here in the mid lane. It won't quite break the tower, but if they stay here, they might get collapsed upon here.
Yeah, looks like that's what's gonna happen. Fang JJ is running in with the overdrive. Doesn't look like they're gonna be able to catch out anybody on the side of SFU. The Rift Herald did get a proc though, gonna chunk that mid tower pretty low. So at the moment, things are kind of at a standstill. We haven't really seen too much action recently. That might change though in a little bit, as we got Dragon Spawn in just 90 seconds.
Yeah, man, you definitely don't want to give Soul Point to a team that is as strong right now as PvE. This Kaisa is getting really, really big here. Getting about like 8 CS a minute here. Jandro will walk across a ward here. But there goes the last embrace. Gonna get a little bit of a broody root. Not gonna get too much though. Drake will spawn in about a minute here. Both top laners still doing, top lane things. It is pretty much a complete island up there. Outside of that one gate by Jandro. And he just decided, I'm not going back up there and make the same mistake twice. But both teams definitely want to PvE definitely want to kind of look for a little bit of something to force the lead more into their favor here. But SFU is playing around the map pretty smart, keeping the gold lead pretty minimal and kind of minimizing their losses around the map. Like overall, it's just like this is an absolute win for SFU, since they have 2 really strong hard scaling carries, and PvE have this Cassid that is getting a lot of gold here, but he should be kind of like, it's going to be very hard for him to jump into the backline and kill anybody with the Lamb's Respite on the table and a lot of the healing and shielding coming from the Dawning Shadow and the Piercing Darkness. So it looks like Drake will be started here for the side of PvE. And it looks like this will be our first hard team fight of the game.
Yeah, we got a lot of members already here on the Dragon here. It looks like SFU is actually going to pull PvE off, and that's going to be a stun onto Nerf Adderall. The Sejuani's getting dangerously low. The finally auto from Jandra will finish it off, and that just means the first fight kind of going over to SFU. They're going to pick up their second Dragon of the game, even up the count at 2-2.
Yeah, that's highly unfortunate. Papus he had the Narbar up, but he did teleport in really, really late here. Mid tier 1 will fall for the side of SFU, so they will get the Drake, a kill, and a mid tier 1. So right now, Gold Lead is starting to kind of equal out a little bit, and it looks like the Baron's just going to be started right away here for the side of SFU. Nobody is around. Sejuani's still dead. She will spawn right now here, but she won't be in time to contest this Drake, or the Baron.
Yeah, Baron already taken down. Stormbringer out from Tsukasa will make sure that no casualties will go over to SFU as well. A very, very smart chain of events there. They get the Dragon, they get the Baron, and they get out with the gold lead.
Yeah, man, just like SFU played this game very, very slow and methodical. They realized that they have a very, very strong scaling team here. Kindred at about 5 marks, Senna is about 94. So the scaling is definitely in the favor of SFU, because Tahm Kench is farming. He is starting to get a little bit tanky despite the early death that he did have. Kaisa and the Gnar, they're not exerting their lead anywhere really. Like the macro calling isn't quite there, just because they're kind of walking around the map aimlessly trying to force something, but SAVU are just playing very, very slow to try to kind of stall this game out and get their carries into that little scaling procedure there. But it looks like right now, Gold Lead will even out completely. Drake score also pretty much even. It is still 2-1 in towers for the side of PvE, but that will soon change with this bot tier 1 being sieged here.
Yeah, now the question is, what can SFU do with this Baron buff? They got another minute or so on it, and that means that they're going to have to just continue to try and siege down on a lot of these turrets, because let's be honest, they didn't really take a lot before the Baron buff went over to them because they were significantly behind. It seems like instead, they're going to just be going for like a bit of a 1-3-1 with both the solo laners kind of hovering around. It looks like they're not really going to try and take any major objectives, just kind of influx the gold a little bit more in their favor by taking down a lot of these outer turrets that haven't yet been taken. And I think that's a pretty smart move with their first Baron buff so early in the game.
Yeah, Lone Elements is getting pretty strong here, now at about 104 souls. So he is pretty darn strong here. So the siege potential isn't too bad when you have the Stormbringer and you have the Lamb's Respite and the Senna all sieging a tower. So they should be kind of grouping as 5, looking to siege a whole tower here. But they're just going to kind of split up because each solo lanes are pretty strong in their own right here. Top tier 2 will get assaulted and it will be taken down here. That it will be a positive Baron power play. They'll get about a 2k gold lead with that Baron here. Mid and bot tier 2 won't get chunked too much here, as the Volley Bear will match up with the Kassadin. But Kassadin right now is level 14, halfway to level 15. So they're kind of waiting for that little chunk of change to come through. But overall, it looks like Tahm Kench is going to ult here, going to look for a little bit of a pick off.
Yeah, Nerf Adderall might be in a bit of trouble. 4 members already on to the PvE 80 carry. That is not PvE, that is some PvP, my friend. The Sejuani goes down the jungler once again for PvE. And now there's 5 members stacked for SFU. They're going to continue to push down.
Yeah, a team like this, with the Tahm Kench, they have a lot of ability to pick anybody out. So they have 2 TPs and a Tahm Kench ult, so they are going to be able to get a lot of things. Stormbringer is not up, so they can't really kind of shut the tower down and look for a hard dive, but they're just going to brute force down this mid tier 3 and the inhibitor. So that will be an inhibitor down. That was definitely a very nice little Baron power play here. Going to back off before the Kassadin and the Mega Gnar do arrive here. Next Drake will be up in about 40 seconds here, but both team or SFU are backing a little bit late here, so they will lose priority on the objective. But they have a lot of like siege and mobility with the Volley Bear, the Tomp, and Bissell Voyage isn't quite up, and the Kindred. So there is definitely possibilities for a 50-50 here.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be PvE actually ending up getting the inner tracking somehow. Despite their inhib being down, despite their jungler dying about a minute ago, just given the strange, awkward back timings that SFU kind of put up, it looks like they're going to actually start up the dragon as soon as it spawns. PvE looking to go aggressive, looking to get that soul point, but instead they're gonna let SFU start it up. The question is, can they try to fight? The turbo chem take has been popped by Fang JJ. Gonna use that ultimate not for too much though. Big fight though. That's a lot of health bars going down in favor of SFU. It's a 2-for-1 so far. Knofton is getting a lot of kills. He has the level 15, not the 16 though. It's a trade back and forth. We got 3 members down on both sides, 2v2 so far for the rest of this fight. It's gonna be Vape is trying to come up in the Mega Gnar, but that is the Stormbringer coming up from Tsukasa. Going to be healing up a ton, as well as Sigfig on the top cannon. Just so hard to kill any of these Mega Tanks. That's going to be another kill going on to Vapis. Nurse Adderall is the last person alive for the side of PvE. He's going to go down once again, and that's the ace coming out for Simon Fraser University.
Yeah, man, the two tanks are doing so much work. They jump straight into the backline. There's no peel. Knofton does get a lot of kills there against the Kindred and the Senna and the Oriana, but surprisingly enough, Tsukasa isn't gonna look for an end here. There's such a big wave in the base, and a wave is also pushing for the top inhibitor here. So they could have gotten an inhib in Nexus Tower, but instead they opted just to take the Drake here. So it is a little bit of a thimble from Baruski there. There were a lot of pings coming out for the Nexus, but it looks like they just kind of opted to go for a little bit of a safer pick. They go for the Soul Point instead. And right now, it is 8-2 in towers, about 4,500 gold lead for the side of SFU here. And so this game is definitely turning around. They can force fights way more. PvJ, they had the priority on the Drake, but they just immediately gave it up there. And it looks like they're just gonna grab a Baron for their troubles too. So right now they are really, really far ahead. They can look to brute force this bot lane tower, push the top lane, get this top inhibitor probably taken down by the minions, and they can just run it straight down bot with this Baron power play. While the Kassanen is almost level 16 here, he's about 20% of the way there. They kind of want to wait for the little bit of that power spike there and kind of kite back, try to break down these tanks in the front line of the Tom Kench and the Volley Bear. And if you can keep that Kaisa alive, her lead will basically just shred the tanks so much with the Wraith, with the Runans and the Collector here.
Thing is, man, it's gonna be hard for Knofton to get super strong and have a presence in these fights. You know, he had a nice team fight earlier, got a couple of kills, maybe I think it was around 2 before falling. But I mean, now you're facing nearly a 7,000 gold lead. And it's gonna be really hard for him to try and get back in. He does just ding the 16, but I mean, the question is it even gonna matter?
Yeah, right now it looks like SFU will start sieging this bot tier 2 here. They're going to do a 4-1. Volibear is going to escort this top wave in, going to get that top inhibitor. So it looks like they're going to give an inhibitor. Fang JJ going to flash forward, going to miss the hook. But it looks like he will get jumped upon here.
Yeah, the hook will be punished, and that's Jandro picking up his 3rd kill of the game on the PvE support. Meanwhile, solo kill potentially unhappening in the top side. Tsukasa says, screw the Cassidy level 16. I have level 16 of my own. We'll pick up another kill in the top side, and that Vape is going down as well. Tsukasa is going to take that top lane inhibitor all by himself, now stuck in a bit of 1v2. The Kaisa still does a lot of damage. Esben going to try and go in, does manage to take down the bear. But now it's the rest of FSU pushing down the Nexus turrets, pushing into the Nexus, and that is the University picking up game 1 here in this SFU.
Yeah, man, just that game. SFU played such a slow, methodical game there. They waited for their 2 carries to kind of level up, wait for that scaling to come into place, and then they just immediately took almost every single fight and looked for every single pick that they could here. And that is definitely a win, I'd say, for SFU Academy there. Very nice job early game a little bit for PvE, but they couldn't quite transition that lead that Vapist and Esmond had around the map to look for the rest of these neutral objectives and these enemy towers.
Yeah, and it looked really good for the side of PvE at the start. I mean, they got I think like a 5 kill lead or so at the early stages of the game. They had 3 kills on the Kaisa, 3 kills on Vapus's Gnar, but it didn't really work out for them at the end of the day. It just was happened to be SFU coming out with the better macro plays. They get a catch on the jungler. They end up taking Dragon and Baron in one single rotation, and with that, that was a snowball that kept rolling down the hill of Summoner's Rift straight into PvE's Nexus.
Yeah, man, just looking at the stats here, there's just so much going on that SFU just played really, really methodical. Like, it was just so hard to look for anything on them. They played so safe. They did not give any openings for PV to kind of jump straight onto them. But it's gonna be a little hard to kind of come up with a player of the game just because they all played so well. But I definitely would give it to Jandro here. He definitely kind of stepped up a little bit, got that really good objective control so he can give his team the lead, securing all those objectives, getting those Lamb's respites out every now and then at a good time. And he ended up with the most gold on the team, second most damage, and third most damage. Well, overall, I would say definitely Jandro got play of the game here.
Yeah, we could just, forget about the missed Kindred ult in the top side against the Gnar. Doesn't matter because you got the win, right? And so, either way, it's going to be SFU pulling off the win in game one. PvE is going to try and come back and do a little bit of what they did in the early game and try and continue that lead. Go for the reverse sweep. We'll see what happens. We got Risen Dominate coming up right after this. Welcome back to game two here in the Risen Dominant League between PvE and SFU. SFU ended up taking the first game, and now we're going to swap over to red side. Banana Bread, how are you expecting this draft to kind of shape up? I mean, there's definitely got to be some adjustments here for both of these teams.
Yeah, man, just outside of the early game, PV did really well in the early game, but they couldn't transition that lead. I want to see them kind of like when they get a lead. You generally when you get a lead, you want to transition that into the rest of the map there. Like for casting, you can't really do too much, but I'd like to see, the I wanted to see Fang JJ kind of roam top, so even get a kill there since Vapas was doing so well in especially with that 2v1 there. And since the bot lane of the Senna Tom Kench didn't really have any kill pressure, I wanted to see Fang JJ just roam top, look for a couple roams here and there, see if he can get a little bit more done for the rest of the team, exert that pressure somewhere else. But instead, they just kind of like fluttered out towards the mid game. Couldn't really oof, do too much with the lead that they had in the early game. But it's not any slouch that SFU is. SFU did very, very well, kept the goal lead really marginal, and they kind of snowballed later on with the scaling that they had for the Senna and the Kindred, being that they don't really need they can kind of make up their item deficiency with the lead that they get from their either marks or souls respectively. So it looks like same bans will come out for both sides here. PvE will, yeah, pretty much they'll just ban the same thing. Instead, SFU will ban the Camille instead. So we're gonna have to see what else they ban here.
Yeah, and so far taken off the table here, Thresh, Lilia, Pantheon, and Camille. Both these teams' drafts are looking pretty similar from game one so far. Question is, will we see a bit of an Udyr ban here on the red side here? SFU took it away on the blue side, and it's still left open here. There is a bit of a spectacle error here, but we'll get that sorted out real quick. It's going to be Ari being taken away here from PvE.
Yeah, man, just pretty much a lot of the same bans here. SFU banning out these strong early game fighters and farmers, and it looks like PV will opt to go take that Kaisa away again. They're gonna take the Kaisa again. Esmond did really, really well with it, but that will also leave the Senna Tom Kench up and the Seraphine up. I forget because Seraphine is pretty much a must-pick ban. Like even though she got nerfed a little bit, her W shield did get nerfed a little bit. It kind of and her the moon no, it's called the Staff of Flowing Water did get nerfed a little bit. The AP did go down by about 10. Seraphine is still a must pick ban. Just the amount of utility that she provides in a team fight is just so good that you can't really play against. It's very, very hard to play against it, especially when you get the early priority on an objective or you're fighting along in those early game chokes. The Seraphine will most likely go mid here. Jinsoul does play that a good amount. It can still be flexed between mid ADC or mid and support here. So very, very curious to see where that goes. And it looks like Seraphine will go mid and Tom Kench will be the support pickup here for the side of SFU. Victor will go against that Seraphine and Sejuani is just going to be taken off the table here again for a nerf Adderall.
Yeah, Seraphine is a very interesting pick to come in. Important to note, we are in patch 11.4, which means that Seraphine, its core item, the mythic item of Moonstone Renewer, did get hit just a little bit. Don't think it's really going to be stopping these enchanters from running rampant across the rift. It's going to be interesting to see what SFU can kind of do with this double healing comp of that they've kind of set up for themselves on this bot side. You got the Seraphine, the Senna, the Tom Kench, lots of safety, especially if you can unlock a lot more of an aggressive top side to play around.
Yeah, man, just Serpent's Fang is super slept on as an item, but definitely want to build that this game. You're gonna have a lot of shields on the table here. The crank the blitz crank can be taken again because it is still a pretty good counter into Tom Kent Seraphine, but I want to see them kind of exert their pressure somewhere else instead of just sitting in the bot lane duo not getting too much. You get like one or two Drakes, but that's pretty much it. Folly Bear is going to take it off the table. Nar is going to take it off the table. So we're going to have a little bit of a couple fresh faces here in the top lane. Kindred again is going to be taken here again for Jean Bro. Did pretty good outside of that little oopsie in the top lane there. And PvE will hover the Blitzcrank. It will most likely get taken. It is a pretty good, you just have so much. You have displacement, you have some CC, and especially that this little known fact that the Blitzcrank ult can break shields, no matter how small or large. So it is definitely a very good pickup here. You're gonna have to blind pick top side here for Vapus. So we're gonna have to see what he picks here. Wukong, Camille, and Nar are his top 3 most played. Mordekaiser was banned last time against him, but it looks like Graggy is going to be hovered here. Grag is one that those top laners that can duel reasonably well, poke a lot, can sustain pretty well in the top lane. Did get played pro play a little bit, and it looks like Gragas will be the final lock-in for PvE. And SFU will hover around this Cho'Gath here. Very strong scaling pick, and it will be picked up here for SFU.
Yeah, SFU's comp is looking rather interesting right now. We do have the Kindred and the Senna, as well as like the Seraphine, I guess. But I just one look at it and you just the only other thing I can think of is wow, this team doesn't really have all too much damage. Hopefully, I'm proven wrong, but it seems like a lot of utility is kind of unlocked with not too much to kind of play around here. So SFU is going to really have to try and play around these certain objectives well, especially kind of funneling all of their gold into Jandra's Kindred, like we saw in the first game. Whereas on the other side, PvE's comp is rather similar to the one that they set up here in game one. Got a little bit of a late game scaling mid laner in the Victor versus the Kassadin. Got Gragas up in the top lane to kind of just tank up. And yeah, other than that, not all too different here for both of these teams. But it's going to be SFU sitting here at game point, match point, going to try and take the series 2-0, where PvE is going to definitely have to try and extend what they were doing in the early game into later stages.
Yeah, SFU have a lot of scaling. When the Seraphine, I will expect to see the Seraphine go the Moonstaff build, of course, but anything can still go just based on the stats here for Jinsol. He plays more of the DPS version of Seraphine with the Leandries, but the Moonstaff build is still very prevalent in the mid lane. But since you're going against so many tanks, I would not be surprised if you go Leandries. Most likely going to go Leandries, just because you want a little bit more of that mixed damage. You want a lot of that burn from the Leandries. So definitely going to be a more optimized build here. Lots of scaling for SFU. Senna, Senna, the Kindred, the Cho'Gath, lots and lots of stacks. PvE, they have the early game here. I want to see them again put more pressure around the map. Now they have a mid laner that can get priority, that can kind of move around a little bit better and impact the early game better than the Kassadin. So PV need to play around this map if they want to get the win here and not go home 0-2 in the end, in the standings and in this current best of 3.
Yeah, and we'll see if they kind of will be able to pull it off here. I mean, it's definitely interesting to see kind of how these team comps played out last game and kind of what the difference will be in this next game. I do like the point that you brought up there, Banana Bread, though. Senna, Kindred, and Cho'Gath. I mean, those are just a lot of really hard scaling teams, champions. You really want to get the stack counts up. I was talking about a bit of lack of damage on the side of SFU, but if you got a Cho'Gath running around one-shotting people with like a 12 stacks of the ultimate, definitely could be something that you really have to watch out for. So going to be exciting to kind of see that kind of play out. The question is, can SFU get to that stage of the game? And you just got to make sure that they can kind of survive the team fight prowess that PvE are bringing to the table.
Yeah, man, just both sides have a lot of team fight presence overall. Like both sides have a lot of AoE, they have a lot of AoE CC, slows, damage, all of that. So Definitely, the team fights are going to be very, very, very spicy here for both sides. But we're going to have to see how both these teams play the early game. PvE had the advantage in the early game, but could not address it quite well, transitioning it into the mid game. SFU, they played the mid game right. They waited for the scaling to go up. They didn't force any sort of fight, played very, very safe. And then they immediately scaled into Oblivion into the late game. So we're going to have to see how both these teams kind of tweak up the game plan here to avoid giving one or the other the advantage in any point in this game here.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting. We do got some game two action here in the Risen Dominant League between SFU and PvE. PvE is going to try to turn it around here, get back here into the reverse sweep in just a couple of minutes. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll see you on the other side. Welcome back, everyone. We're here for Game 2 in the Risen Premade Dominant League between PvE on your blue side, SFU on your red side. Banana, we see a little bit of a strange situation here. We got 5-member stacks, but on opposite sides.
Yeah, man, just definitely SFU kind of expecting it a little bit better here. They know the crank is up there, but they're gonna have to watch out when they start walking back to the top side. Um, PV did get a couple of cheeky wards up there. They will spot out the Cho'Gath here, but Kindred will most likely start for blue buff this time around. And both junglers will both start their bot side buff. So they will meet in the top side. So there is going to be a little bit of a skirmish later on here into this top side here. But right now, couple of little crazy shenanigans, but not going to amount to much else here, as the rest of this game will just kind of slow down as they start getting back into lane here. Ooh.
Yep, and a little bit different here. Start this game off. It is the same jungle matchup, but as the side switch, the junglers are both on the opposite sides of the map. And while it didn't really matter for the Sejuani, who's still going to start on her red buff, Kindred just preferred to start bot side, it seems like. So still going to get that full clear in, just going to be a little bit on the opposite side. Does mean, though, that Jandro will be a little bit faster on the early clear. Going to finish up that level 3 first and make his way over to his red buff faster. It's important to note, though, that just about now he will be spotted out by PvE's wards they place there on their 5-stack invade. So it does mean that Nerf Adderall will know where the Kindred is.
Yep. No pings coming out quite yet, but they should be tracking where this Kindred is and that she will go for this top scuttle here. It will allow Sigs Figs and Lone Elements to kind of go a little bit more aggressive in this bot lane to kind of, so they don't have to worry too much about the Sejuani gank in the bot side here. So you can see they're going a little bit more aggressive this time around, and they're just kind of walking up, knowing very well that they can definitely assert their dominance here. Sukasa will kind of push the wave a little bit towards PvE right now. So it will, and the first mark will spawn on the top scuttle here. So that will mean that both sides will contest this. Jandro should be able to get this for free, as Nerf Adderall is at a bit of a disadvantage here, having SFU will bring the rest of their team to get this Scuttle Crab, and that will be the first mark of the game here for Jandro. But like, overall, like, this game is pretty slow. Like, outside of a little bit of kind of trading back and forth, there isn't too much going on. Just both teams taking it very slow and methodical here, waiting to see if they can go for the full-on team fight.
Yeah, we hit the 4-minute mark. Huck barely misses there from Fang JJ. They did land a little bit of an engage earlier onto Sig Figs. Not too much really amounted out of that, however. And it is just going to be the side of PvE just getting the early shove here on this bounce back wave, which means that, I don't think too much is going to happen. It is going to leave them a bit vulnerable for a gank, but with both junglers on the bot side, not too much is probably about to happen here. Got a dragon spawning in about 30 seconds. As another hook lands onto Sig Figs. Ignite is actually popped. This could potentially be a bit of an engage. The root is going to land onto Fang JJ. And now is Lone Elements trying to go a little bit more on the aggressive. Doesn't have to worry about that farm, which means all she has to worry about is landing those autos into the PvE bot.
Yeah, that's the thing about, like, pre-6. Hypothetically, this bot lane is pretty much at an advantage here, but there is going to be a little bit of a gankaroonie here.
Yeah, Power Fist already landing onto Sig Figs. The hook's gonna get flashed away from, but Nerf Adderall is not going to stop. Gonna land the stun onto the Tom Kench. Prey Seeker just landing as well. So it's gonna be Sig Figs getting out with his life, gonna burn the heal, but Nerf Adderall is not done just yet. Gonna get rooted up by the W of Lone Elements, though. Gonna signal the sign to go off away or not. We do see Fang JJ go a little bit aggressive. Wave is shoving back in for the side of SFU. So a bit of an engage, some summoners blown, no kills though, going over to either side.
Yep, looks like Nerf Adderall didn't get spotted out by anything here. He's just gonna come back in for another return game.
It's not a replay, folks. It's just the Nerf Adderall coming back into the bot lane with a whole different result. Edmund's going to pick up first blood, and now Sigfig, again, on the run. They're going to stun him up, and they're going to take him down. Nerf Adderall doing a great job on the repeat gank, getting 2 kills onto the SFU bottom lane.
Yep, this is a little bit of a replay from what happened last game here, but this time Six Figs did not go down alone. He had his 86 duo to go down with him here. So right now, gold lead will be about 600 right now. Top side there is a lot of trading back and forth, but there isn't gonna be too much happening here. First Drake will be a Cloud Drake right now. Both sides are still there's nothing too crazy going on right now, so both sides are still relatively even. So definitely going to see what happens to this Drake here. Nerf Adderall is going to start pathing top, but he will walk back down, suspecting a little something fishy going on. But it looks like his red buff is just going to spawn. He's going to do the red buff. Jandro will get the first Drake here, it looks like, while Jin Soul is walking down with the priority overall. But, like, it just... both teams are playing very, very methodical this time around. Nothing too crazy, but, you know, can't really jump to conclusions quite yet until we start transitioning this into the mid game here.
First dragon picked up for SFU. Jandro going to pick up that Cloud Dragon. Pretty much uncontested. I mean, Nerf Adderall was kind of in the area, but it didn't look like PvE really wanted to go in. So, first objective going over to the red team. Going to try to make up for the 2v2 kills on the bottom side. So, other than that, as you said, Banana, things are kind of just taking it slow here. Both the teams know that they want a team fight. I mean, both they want to scale. That's kind of both of the goals of these teams. So, it's kind of expected to see just a lot of scaling, a lot of farming, not too much to start the game off.
Yeah, like I want to see the Sejuani kind of go top and look for gank there, just because get set up with a Gragas, especially if you get a lot of follow-up stuns, is so easy that you should definitely get it. You want to put this Cho'Gath a little bit behind with the scaling, because he's gonna get really, really beefy later on in the game. Or maybe PvE could start looking for, or SFU can look for this Herald here, but it looks like PvE will start the Herald up first. Gonna get a couple wards around. Not gonna spot the Drift Herald being done quite yet. So this should go for free for the side of PvE. But like right now, it's just nothing's really happening. Like both teams are trying to kind of take it slow, see who can win in the macro and skill matchup overall. But that should definitely go in favor of SFU, just because they have kind of an ease of doneness here in the mid lane. The Glacial Prison will get thrown out here, but Flash will be pretty well done. But like both sides are just kind of trying to scale up as much as possible, but Jandro will get Nerf Adderall here.
We do see that mark spawn on the enemy Gromp, which is why Jandro decides to go in here. Question is, will the top laners and the mid laners sort of try to respond? Canofton is already headed over towards the jungle of his team. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, though, that's a fight going on. Donnie Shadow's going to land onto 2, and that means that the bot lane of PvE is going to have to run away. Lone Elements already providing a whole lot of impact as we come back to top side. Jandro actually going to pick up that blue buff, so a very nice steal away. I don't know for certain if he ended up getting the mark or if Nerf Adderall ended up picking it up. But either way, a nice invade there for the FSU jungler, getting a lot of objectives off the board.
Yeah, just a little update. Jandro did indeed get that. He did get that mark there, so definitely a win. He gets the blue buff, gets some extra CS, and he does get the mark here. So it's a little bit of a slow collapse there for Vapus, just because like Tsukasa is just putting so much pressure in the top side, trading so often that it's just really hard for the Vapus to sustain around there. Next mark will spawn onto the enemy Raptor camp here. So Jinsol has been getting a lot of priority in the mid lane now that he has the tier and the lost chapter. So we're gonna have to look to see if he does go for that mark. Next Drake spawning will be a Mountain Drake in about 115 here. So right now, Fang JJ is roaming around. He's trying to look if he can get something, but he did get spotted out when he hit that ward. So right now, gold lead is pretty much dead even. Like nothing is really going on here. Definitely expect to see a bit of a full-on team fight here at this Drake. Both TPs are up for the top side. Both TPs are up for the mid laners. Also, so this should be the first like major fight of the game, unless like one side opts to just kind of give it away. But Nerf Admiral does have that Herald, so he could look to gank bot, drop it bot, maybe get that first tower and get the Drake. But you're just gonna get a lot of gold for now. It looks like if you do drop the Herald now in the bot side, as Kenofton is walking top here, but Jandro is there to kind of help her out a bit.
Yeah, and on top of the gold, you also just get a lot of pressure. You know, with the wave pushing into the bottom side, it really just helps PvE get that inner tracking on the dragon. They're gonna get the 2 plates for now. Chaos Storm already used mid lane, which means that that key ultimate will not be available for any potential fights. As you said, Banana, the teleports are available for all 4 solo laners, so things could get messy here around this objective. It has spawned, and it's gonna be PvE with the inner tracking due to that Rift Herald. The hook's gonna miss though
Ooh.
from Fang JJ. Things are gonna try and hold off for now.
Yeah, both sides are getting there. It looks like TP's coming in, gonna try to cut him off a little bit here.
Yeah,
With
now their
Cho'Gath.
battle might be in a bit of trouble. That's the Encore landing onto the Sejuani, and now the jungler for PvE is dead. That is a disaster for the blue team. A beautiful
Ooh.
Devour gonna cancel the way the Blitzcrank hook, and now it's gonna be FSU on the offensive. Jandro is going in. The Cask is gonna try and stall him away. Dawning Shadow will not land the killing blow onto Vapus, and so it's gonna be the red team picking it up. FSU gonna get the 2-0 on Drakes.
Yeah, that was just a really, really nice collapse there from the side of SFU there. They got the flank ward there. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, he's dead.
The
And a
fish is
hook,
gonna sit
whatever.
there
What
a
can you
little
do?
bit too long there. But overall, like it's still a win for SFU. They get a really good track there. They get cut off the Sejuani there, so they secure the objective right off the bat. With the Cho'Gath there not blowing the food, so he gets a stack. He gets doesn't quite get an assist, but he did. They did get the inside track onto the jungler. They killed the jungler. They get the Drake. So early Drake stacking for the side of SFU. Gonna be a little bit behind in gold because that kill for Six Figs did go over. But we're gonna see where they kind of put this lead again, because this is kind of like a replay a little bit of what happened last game, but instead SFU is getting more out of these teleport plays this time around.
And we were talking last game about Jandro and how he really had a lot of pressure and did a lot of work around the map. He's taking it to a whole nother level here in game 2. Take a look at the CS. Almost a 60 CS lead, nearly doubling up his opponent jungler at the 14-minute mark and sitting comfortably 2.5 levels ahead of his opponent. And a lot of that was due to the bottom lane. As we see another engage happening here, the hook is going to go wide, but that doesn't mean that Esmond still does not want to go in. Uses the flash aggressively, but the Black Mist is buying a lot of time for the center. They're going to devour up Esmond and actually end up taking him down. Sigfig picks up the kill, but here comes Kenofton. He's going to have the Chaos Storm available. Fang JJ, he's looking for the Power Fist onto the setup, but the slows are way too much. That's Jinsel going in with the Encore and taking down the Blitzcrank, and this is a big fight coming out from FSU. Jinsel picks up another kill. 3 straight go down.
Yeah, just that was such a bit. That was a very aggressive play for Esmond, just kind of walking in front of the Blitzcrank, letting Senna just kind of free hit onto him, because the Senna was waiting for the cooldowns. Once the Piercing Darkness came up, she just kind of hits him up, gets the soul, gets the heal, and that's a lot of damage going through, especially that her first item being a full lethality item. So very, very nice job there. Nice collapse for Jinsel to come up on the back, get a good encore onto the crank to peel off the Blitzcrank from knocking up the Senna again and getting the victor. So lots of summoners, lots of cooldowns blown overall, but definitely a win there for the side of SFU. They get first tower gold onto this Senna here. Cho'Gath is starting to get on track to be a really good beefy boy here, as he does have 4 stacks right on him. Vapus is going to try to look to get on out here. Ooh, and Belly Bop is going to be knocked up here.
Yeah, cancel the rupture. Nice two-man cask though to try and buy some time, but Tsukasa is there. Doesn't even use the feast to get that additional stack onto him, but he's gonna go down anyway. And Jandro is just bullying Nerf Adderall at this point in his jungle. End up stealing the blue buff as well, sitting at 5 stacks. Actually, maybe make it 6 there as he picks up the kill onto Vapus as well. Gonna spawn the Rifter on the top side, take down their second major objective of the game, and things are looking up for SFU. They're gonna try and take the 2-0, and they're looking to be in a really great spot for it.
Yeah, it's just like, even though the jungle did get nerfed a little bit this patch, um, like Janjaro is making up for it by invading the enemy jungler. So he's also getting, their money as well and their XP. So he's pretty much just like taking advantage of his early game and the slow collapses from the side of PvE and just going for these really cheeky invades, even without Prio, and just going straight in, knowing very well that he can get out when he has the Dance of Arrows and Wolf's Frenzy, because he's just hopping around back and forth, getting these objectives, getting to execute on these neutral camps, and then just putting Nerf Adderall super behind. Nerf Adderall, it can't really gank anywhere. Because like everywhere else, the lanes are at this point pretty far ahead. Senna is starting to looks like she's starting to go for her Kraken Slayer here. Kaisa does have her Kraken Slayer and Dirk, so you're gonna see where this lead goes. Ocean Soul will be the Solioli this game. Ocean Drake will be up in about 30 seconds here, so this will be our next second major team fight. But hold that thought.
Yeah, Lone Elements gets caught out, and without a Tom Kench around, Sigfigs was not there to save the life of his AD carry. And because of that, he will go down. Another kill going over to PvE, and that could be pretty impactful. Now that Lone Elements is down, the Dragon is spawning in about 10 seconds. She's still going to be in the Death Chamber by the time it goes into spawn. But it looks like FSU is going aggressive on other sides of the map. We got Tsukasa still pushing into the inhibitor tower of the in the top lane of PvE, but it means instead that the dragon will go over. They're going to prevent the soul point from going to FSU so far, and because of that, just going to try and stall this game out just a little bit further.
Yeah, man, just a little bit of an overstep there for Lone Elements, not having his support there to help him out. He is technically the support here, but it looks like Lone Elements might get caught out here again.
Yeah, another hook, and that is a beautiful job there from Fang JJ, utilizing that Blitzcrank to perfection. Esmond jumping up on top as well, getting another kill onto the Lone Elements. So AD carry or support doesn't really matter in this case, because the only thing that matters to them, she's in a mobile, squishy, ranged champion, which means one hook will take her down.
Yeah, man, just very Lone Elements is just kind of walking out here, going super aggressive, getting caught out. Not very characteristic of last game here, but he will get picked off. Fasting Senna doesn't really have to care too much about like the XP disadvantage or the gold discrepancies as much, but looks like Fang JJ is starting to walk around here. Esmond's gonna get chunked out a good amount, so Fang JJ is gonna kind of look for a little bit of pick off here, but the rotations will kind of come out deterring that from happening. But the enemy red buff will be up here, so we're gonna see if Jandro kind of wants to look for that invade to get his seventh mark of the game here, but they're just gonna brute force mid tower here.
Fang JJ's hook will only hit onto a minion, but now it looks like SFU has spotted out their prey. The Black Mist will prevent anyone from fighting back. Fang JJ gets instantly taken down. The Abyssal Voyage for good measure as FSU will continue to push into the turrets. It looks like the Rift Herald will get taken down, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, you get a pick, get a turret. What more to ask?
Yeah, man, just SFU is doing so well just moving around the map right now. They're moving as a 5-man unit, looking for these picks, taking advantage of their very strong team fight composition here at the moment. So like right now, they're just putting Nerf Adderall super behind, but there's a flash body slam there.
Oh, nice cast. Gonna bring lone elements back in. Sig might be in a bit of trouble. Looks like the thick skin will not save him as Esmond will pick up his 4th kill of the game. But now the turnaround might be here. They're going to land the root. They're going to chomp it down onto Nerf Adderall. Looks like Sukakusa will be pretty focused for the rest of this fight. They're going to land the knockup on to Vapist again. It is now 2 kills going over to the side of SFU. And now the killer instinct coming in from Esmond doesn't look like they're going to get too much out of that. But a nice turnaround on the fight there, and they're going to continue to look for potentially the Baron.
Yep, they do not have the chomp, but they do have not even smite up right now. So they do this a little bit slowly here. Lamp's Respite is still up on the table.
They're going to hook in the Cho'Gath. Tsukasa can take a whole lot of damage, and it doesn't matter. They're going to take down Esmond as well. Fang JJ once again on the run, and it looks like their eyes are set right back onto Baron. SFU going back in, going to make quick work of this objective, get that big purple buff for themselves, and they're in a very, very commanding lead.
Yeah, man, just like right now, they're just playing so well. Like, this is just a completely different SFU this time around. They're moving as a unit to have a mid laner that can impact the early game and the mid game really well here. So right now, Jean-Bro is about, I say about 75 CS, almost 70 CS up right now. He almost has the Flame Horizon. It's almost there. Top lane. Cho'Gath has about 7 stacks. He has a lot of bonus health. Senna has about 89 souls in her pocket, and the Kindred has 9 marks under her belt right now. So there's just such a big lead across the map. It's going to be a very hard time for PvE to kind of look to come back into this game, because unless they can look for like these really good picks they set up early and they use their AoE damage and CC to their advantage, they can definitely look for these picks and try to burst somebody down fast enough that they can. It looks like there's a hook coming out.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to try to burst down. Sig does have a thick skin to buy some time, as well as dotting Shadow, and that actually means that Nerf Adderall is going to be the one going down super low. It's actually Vapus who falls first in the fight. Adderall will fall soon after that. 2 straight kills once again going over to SFU. They're going to continue onto the Dragon, pick up that soul point. I have a good feeling, but then they're not even going to need the soul to finish this game off.
Oh yeah, man, just this game is looking harder and harder as we go farther into the game. It's about a 7k gold lead for the side of SFU. Like, they have 3 really big carries. The Senna is opting more for a supportive build, being that she was a little bit behind. But it looks like they're going to brute force this mid tower down and get the mid inhib as well. Bot tier 2 will get sieged by the Baroned up Cho'Gath.
Looks like a last stand is here for PvE, but yeah, it looks like Fang JJ just hooked in the Tom Kenshin. That's exactly where Sigfigs really wants to be, right in the face of the team, doing a lot of damage and taking down the PvE support. And now it's just continuous siege for SFU. They're going to pick up another inner tower, the last of the game, and they're going to continue to push down onto the bot lane inhibitor. Still a huge wave. The gravity field is going to lock up a couple of members, not for too long though. There comes the Chaos Storm, going to issue a nice amount of damage. It looks like not going to deter the rest of SFU from continuing to take down their second inhibitor of the game. Now the question is, can they get out? The body slam's going to miss from Vapus, but still gets a nice little cast. Going to lock up Jandro. Still has a Lancer Spite if needed. That's going to be Esmond coming back around on the back side, but it's actually just all SFU at this point. The low health bars, the low mana means nothing for the red team. They're still going to get out safely. They're going to hook into Casa, but still, he is such a tanky Cho'Gath, and the damage coming out from Jinsoul and Lone Elements is just way too much for PvE to continue to contest. They're going to get out completely scot-free, heck, even a kill to their name.
Yeah, man, just the healing, the shield, the scaling, and the tank. It's just way too hard for the side of PvE to kind of look for these picks anymore. Like, SFU is just slowly bleeding out PvE this entire game. Like, they could easily just force it down mid, but they're just going to opt to take it a little bit slow here, just kind of play it a little bit more methodical, play it a little bit safe, 8-1 in towers. They are on Soul Point. Next Drake up will be in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Baron will be up in about 2 minutes. But it's just, this game is just looking pretty darn over there, my guy.
Yeah, not looking so hot for PvE. They had the early game in game one, but ever since then, it's been all SFU. They're going to continue their siege. Baron buff not even needed to continue to push down into PvE base. The final inhibitor tower, it looks like it's going to be under fire in the next couple of seconds as the wave crashes in. Lone Elements is continuously picking up these stacks, now sitting at 111, so very close to that next power mark. They're going to hook in Sig Figs once again. The question is, can they burn him down? Doesn't look like it, though. Not even going to have to pop the Thick Skin. And now the Black Mist is preventing anybody from taking damage on the side of FSU. That's going to be Vapus jumping in. Tanky, but not tanky enough, as that's going to be the first kill of the fight. Jinsoul's going to get one on to Knopton as well. And now the rest of PvE are on the run. There's no more solo laners, no more lives here for PvE. Fang's gonna go down, as well as Nerf Adderall, leaving Esmond the only lone Kaisa alive. Gonna be really hard for her to 1v5 this. Doesn't look like that's gonna happen. The question is, can she even survive under the fountain? They're gonna try to dive her, but two deaths are gonna go over. It's not gonna matter at the end. We're at the 27-minute mark. The Nexus turrets are down. The Nexus is exposed, and that's gonna be SFU taking the series 2-0 over PvE.
Yeah, man, just SFU taking a little bit of their time, trying to patent the stats a little bit. But it looks like the game will end right here, right now. And just SFU played that game nearly immaculately there. They played the game to their strengths. They grouped up around the map overall, and they just slowly gripped, they just choked the life out of PvE's game plan, and they just pretty much blew it up. Like, Jandro, if first game was player of the game, this game is just player of the series, man. He put up so many good numbers in this second game. He pretty much flame horizon Nerf Adderall. Like, you don't see it too often, but it was just so hard for Nerf Adderall to get anything done around the map and in his own jungle. He got so far behind, didn't even finish his second item at all here. So, like, player of the series definitely goes to Jandro. Like, he put up really good numbers. He had pretty much, just looking at, he was 5-1 and 8. He had about, I'd say, like a 80%, like 75-ish percent KP percentage. And he put up the most damage in the game this time around. So definitely very, very good job for SFU banding together, changing their game plan a little bit, pretty much picking the same comp, running with it, and then just pretty much putting PV into the dirt, taking the series 2-0 in a clean sweep.
Yeah, and an excellent play all around coming through from SFU. They faltered a little bit at the early game of game one, but after that, they completely dominated PvE and all sides of the map, especially in the jungle, as you said there, Banana. The Kindred versus Sejuani working out spectacularly for them, especially in that game two, where they just took over and really just gave PvE absolutely no shot of coming back.
Yeah, man, just they got choked out. They couldn't get anything too much done just because the lead that Jandro had in the jungle, he could pretty much just put his pressure anywhere around the map. Jinsoul did very, very well to kind of move around the map and just kind of use the amount of utility that he has in the kit, and just doing so well to keep lone elements and six figs from falling behind too hard in the early game and getting themselves a pretty decent lead there. But just definitely, Jandro definitely gets that player of the series overall this time around.
Yeah, and it's SFU coming out, getting another win, remaining undefeated here in the Risen Dominant Pre-Made League. And I'm really excited to see how they can continue to push forward as we head into the remaining weeks in the league. But with that, that's going to be it for us here on the Risen Esports channel. We'd like to thank you all for tuning in and come and watch some League of Legends with us. Make sure to tune in for the next series here on Risen Banana. Is there anything you want to say before we, close the show out?
Nah, man, just definitely overall very good job for PVE and SFU for giving us a nice tight knit series overall. But congratulations to both teams, playing today. Especially congratulations to SFU. Now they're going to go 2-0 in the standings with a nice clean sweep today. And then, like, just overall, thank you to Risen, thank you to the teams, and we'll see y'all later on.
Yep, that's gonna do it for us here. Thank you so much for watching. Have a beautiful rest of your night.